So, when trying to build a website with Go or just a project in general, you meet the first problem with Golang, and the problem is that there is no standard folder structure or format for it. The core team working on Go are actually working on the language itself because Go is a language developed by Google engineers 2006, 2007. So they're working on making the language better, and so far, there is really no elaborate web framework uh, on it. So when you want to build a website or a platform with Go, that is the first problem you're going to run into. Where the hell do you put your files in? How do you organize your files? How do you arrange it? What is the standard way? And in programming and building large projects, you usually want to go with the standards so that when you employ new developers, it will be easy for them to fit into the project. For instance, if you're coming from PHP, you will already be used to at least one or two web frameworks in PHP. For instance, Yi framework, that is YII, or Cake PHP, Laravel, and a myriad of so many different frameworks. One thing you notice with these frameworks is the folder structure. Once you pull the Git repo and run your composer install, you have a well-defined, clearly defined folder structure. And you can already see that most of the work has been done for you even before you write the first code. In fact, some of these platforms come with a user authentication system, standard user authentication system already built in, so that you don't go around messing around with code, writing codes that will have security loopholes in future. All right, you don't have all these problems because they have been done already. But then when it comes to a language like Go, you have to create every single file for yourself by yourself. You have to create every single folder. So at the end of the day, each Go, the folder structure of each Go project looks totally different. There is no standard naming convention for the files. Nothing. You just name your file anything that comes to your mind and just end it with .go. There is no standard recommended front end framework like what you would have like in PHP, like Blade, or even in Python. If you work with Python, you will know that there are frameworks like CherryPy, like Django, and so on. There are pretty standard recommendations, conventions with those, but you don't have it in Go. Every Go project you want to start is an empty project, empty folder. Now you start putting things. This poses a big problem, and then the solution that some people come up with is to try and put their own folder structure on GitHub so that others can use it. And this is the most popular one. As you can see, it has 49,000 stars and it's called Project Layout for Go. All right, Golang standards. And this was not done by anybody from the core Go team, but unfortunately, somebody from a Go team came and gave one of the developers of Golang came and gave a negative review about this. And this is why some people have started having problems with it. So if you look at this now, it has API folder, assets, build, CMD configs, deployments, docs, and so on, PKG, scripts, and then web and vendor. Now, coming from Laravel, I understand what this guy is trying to accomplish, all right, or from Cake PHP, you already know, and there would have been better ways to accomplish this. So if I was trying to organize these folders, I would have done them slightly differently to match what I already know from standard frameworks. And this is just one. But then if you go to Google, you will see that many people have things you can use. Let me try and get to Google. You'll see that this is not the only one. There are more, and you can try and work with any of them. But just know that these are not official. Look at this folder structure for every Golang project by another person, and this is another one by another person, and by another person. So you can see hundreds of them, different people trying to solve that problem. And all the Go frameworks, people will always tell you that there are Go frameworks, but all of them are just basically HTTP router wrappers. All right. When you install them, you don't have things in your system. Okay, look at this guy now. Go ultimate folder structure. This guy suggests that you have a CMD for your command line. That's where um, you can have multiple apps. Okay, internal, where you have your database config, pkg, API, web, scripts, tests. So, and he tries to explain why he thinks it's so. And if, of course, if you go to read, you will see what people are saying about it. But also, let's look at one more. You see, this one suggests that you have CMD, database, and internal. This looks simpler, but of course, it can be a bit more confusing because when you try to drill down, you start looking for where he puts certain files. Like this one, this is where the handler, middleware, model, and stuff. So at the end of the day, um, it looks like they will eventually have a framework that will start mimicking Laravel, which is what the JavaScript frameworks have done. Eventually, they started coming up with JavaScript folder structures, framework folder structures that is starting to look like PHP-based projects. And the reason is that PHP is the king of the web. Over 80 to 90% of websites run on PHP. PHP has done a lot of standards, solved a lot of standard problems with uh, in the web. All right, so many things you will want to do in web in your programming with respect to web. PHP already has inbuilt functions in the language to solve it, making PHP less verbose. In programming language qualities, we have what we call verbosity, and that is to say how many words, how many keystrokes does it take you to accomplish one thing. So if you want to check whether, if you want to verify email in PHP compared to in Go, even though Golang on the surface, the code looks more elegant, all right, with less keystrokes because it doesn't have so many of the brackets. It doesn't require semicolon termination and so on the surface. But once you want to do something with it on your in your web programming, you run into the problem that many things, many inbuilt functions in PHP don't exist in Go. So now you have to write them manually. All right, you have to write them. So in the process of writing them manually, especially in your own way, importing new packages to run that, now you write more code. And the way you're writing it will be different from the way the next developer that joins the team will write it. So Go projects usually have this problem of whenever they employ new developers, the new developer would want to change the structure of the project so that it can work their own way. All right. So because of that, from personal experience, Go projects take longer to execute uh, certain tasks. In the sense that the programmers will write much more code to accomplish the same thing that you would have done with Python, for instance, with Django or CherryPy or PHP. You understand? And but then once the code is written, that's where Go comes in, right? Once the code is written, Go can be faster, all right, because it compiles into one binary. It's easier to deploy, to set it up on the deployment process, and the whole thing pipeline, deployment pipeline is very, very easy. And then when you test it, when you try to benchmark some of the speed and everything, you will see that Go can perform better than PHP. Do you understand? But getting your developers to write the code to get to that point is where the problem starts. Because imagine a project with a startup. As a startup, you have limited funding. You need to get to the market really fast. Something you can accomplish in 1 month in PHP using a PHP framework, you're going to struggle for months trying to launch it with a Go. You know, when it comes to PHP or Python, with PHP, you can write in raw PHP. They call it vanilla PHP. Writing, creating your own PHP files and writing it directly. You can build a website that way, right? You put all the HTML inside. It's going to take longer. The reason web developers abandoned that method and started using frameworks is because of the issues Go is facing now. You understand? So they abandoned it because of the issues I mentioned. New developers will start trying to figure out how this code base was structured. It's easy to write rubbish code. Things are not compartmentalized. You know, everything has to be done manually. You have to do your verification, OTP, and all those things. You know, form verification and all manually. All right, because of this, it takes much longer, and there's no way you can build a serious project with only vanilla PHP without having serious security loopholes. You know, so people tend to generally use frameworks these days. They just abandon vanilla PHP. So when you're trying to build a project with Go, it's like you're using vanilla PHP. That's just what it looks like. And then all the Go frameworks don't have any of those. They are not robust enough. They just tend to target one aspect of Go, which is um, routing in general, and solve it, but they are not robust enough, you know. So if you're going to build a project with Go, you should weigh the advantages. The primary advantage or key advantage is being able to set up your deployment pipeline much easier. And when you deploy, you're deploying one file because it compiles to one file instead of PHP where you deploy hundreds of files. And then also maybe speed. When it comes to speed, when the project is done and you compare the speed, Go might be able to perform better. But other things you have to look at is the fact that there's no platform, at least to the best of my knowledge and all my Googling, I wasn't able to find one single platform that started with PHP, major platform though, and reverted to Go. Do you understand? Or started with PHP and reverted to some other language and had a strong reason for that. Most big platforms that started with PHP stick with PHP. The only thing they do is to start incorporating other languages to build other sections of the platform. For instance, running with PHP, um, you can, if you want to build your mobile app, obviously you're not going to use PHP. You end up using maybe Flutter. Now, when you are googling the languages used by the platform, you will see PHP, you will see Flutter because they use Flutter for their mobile. Another one is building the front end. Yes, you can write HTML directly into PHP, which is a magic superpower. But if you really want to get the full uh, benefits of JavaScript, you will have to use a JavaScript framework like React, Next.js, Vue, and so on. So now you want to decouple it so that PHP will do primarily PHP things on your website, and then your front end will be something else like React. All right, so that you can get that nice user experience. So now, if you're now googling what the platform is using, you will see PHP, you will see React. You see. So at the end of the day, if we look at the biggest websites that use PHP, you will see Canva. Canva used PHP, and then they use a JavaScript framework. I think is I can't remember React or so, because they deal with a lot of designs. And a whole lot of websites like Slack. Slack used PHP. Till today, Slack is using PHP. They just incorporated other things, but at the core, their backend service is written in PHP. Facebook uses PHP. In fact, they went to the extent of creating their own custom. They call it hack. Is it hack PHP or something? The custom PHP that had things they wanted. At the time, right? At the time Facebook was launching, PHP was not as robust as it is today. So their internal team found things that they needed to do that core PHP language didn't have at the time. So they will write those functions and compile it into the core language. And then usually they will reach out to the PHP team and say, hey, look at what we did. You can add it in your next release. And that was how platforms like Quora, Quora, Quora.com, right? The question and answer platform. That was how they helped improve Python, all right? Because I think Adam D'Angelo, when he started Quora, they found many things that Python could not do well on the web. And once they write their own code for it, they send it to the Python team and it will be included in the next release. And so this is how these programming languages grew much better. All right. So many platforms still don't see a need to use that Facebook custom hack PHP because whatever you want to find there has already been included in the core PHP languages. And part of the reason why Facebook did it is because even a 0.00001% increase in speed is good for them because they have billions of users. So sometimes they remove things they didn't need to have to be present in the core PHP binary. They removed it and compiled their own. That's how they created their own custom. I think Slack uses both normal PHP and a hack. That's a Facebook custom. So, but the idea is that when platforms start with PHP, they usually don't switch. You get they are most of the standard e-commerce platforms in the world are built with already existing platforms like Magento. Magento was built in PHP. So when you look at all these things, you will see that, especially as a startup, you want to get to the market fast. And then when you get to the market with a strong framework like PHP or Python, web framework like Django, when you get to the market, you can now relax and start decoupling. You look for things, parts of the system you can improve and decouple, right? A good example is um, building a monolith versus an API architecture. Many people criticize monolith architecture, but monolith is faster. Not API, but microservice, right? Monolith is faster, and you can always decouple at any stage of the project. If you really want to get to market fast, you want to build a monolith architecture that will be easy to decouple into a microservice in future. If you are building a microservice for a start and it's a serious project, it will take you a few extra months to go live, because you first of all build a microservice, all right, expose the API endpoint, and then you build another platform that will consume the API. This is double work. So what somebody with a monolith architecture can launch in a month, it's going to take you minimum of 2 months, minimum. Now, whenever there is a challenge, all right, you want to improve a feature, maybe an API that returns list of all users. You understand? Now you want it to return list of some users that does XYZ. You first of all go and edit the API, the microservice, all right? Expose the endpoint. Then you come to the front end and consume the microservice again and change the way you display it to the user. This is double work. So the best way to build a project, right, is when you launch the API, the monolith architecture, make sure that you have your APIs there ready, so that even if you're launching a mobile app, the mobile app can still consume the API. So in a function, right, you can write the same code. Let's say a code that fetches list of all users. Then towards the end of the function, you can check what is requesting it. If the request is coming as an API, you return the response in JSON. But if it is coming from your front end package, all right, like your Blade or your React or whatever that is coupled within the same project, then you return HTML. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the same function. Now this has saved you work. But if you are building now you have to write separate code for the API. Do you understand? And then come and consume it separately. It takes time. Time is not something that you want to mess around with in startups. And frankly, your users don't care. The only time your users are worried is if your website is so slow that they can't even use it. You understand? As long as your website works really well, your users just want to get on your platform and do what they want to do and get the hell out. So you wasting time in development many months is useless. You're just fighting against yourself. And before you launch, somebody else might have launched, or you might run out of cash, which is the death of many startups. So I hope this explains some of the challenges with using certain programs, and it gives you the advantage versus disadvantage of using Golang with respect to building your project. I'll drill deeper into monolith versus microservice in the next video. Make sure you follow me, like, subscribe, and share. If you don't do these three things, YouTube will not show you my next video.